Hello all, A Knife's Tale here, bringing you a knife review. I actually thought I did this one, so I wasn't prepared for it, but we're doing it right now. This is the Ketuo slash Reich made Forever Steel Cybertrix, designed by Declinx. I don't think Forever Steel started off as part of Reich and Ketuo, like directly, but it sort of folded into them, and it is now. You can get Forever Steel when you go to the Reich page. But when I got this thing, there was a whole separate page, actually. It was just a small little separate page that the Clinks actually linked to me on Instagram when I was talking about trying to get one of these things, because they're cool. So, it's a whole mess of things, but it is what it is. It's much easier to get now. Just Ketuo USA is the easiest way to get them. They're there. This knife is all about the design, let's be honest. It's clearly inspired and play on the Cybertruck, but this was well before the Cybertruck came out, but it was announced and shown off. And in true Reich fashion, it is sort of just crazy. It really is. You've got differential finishes. You've got a polish and a really almost like chalky blasted finish. Got a very unique structure system, no visible hardware. Unique blade shapes. There are three that have different angles of the blade and cants. I thought this one would be reasonably decently useful. And before we get into anything else, I think we're just going to start with specs. Why not, right? Oh, it's a liner lock and its own washers. 3 3/8 blade length. Basically from here down, which is the end of the cutting edge, is about 3 3/8. It goes a little further back there, but that's plunge and everything, so I'm not going to count that. 7 7/8 overall, and from the tip to the tip, we're looking at just a hair over. It's 4.5, but you get this little tiny bit of this backspacer sticking out, which makes it a hair over 4.5 inches. Do some quick comparisons. Small knife comparison being the CV Elementum. That was a weird flip. And the Civivi Conspirator for the full-size knife comparison. And as you can see, this is pretty much a full-size knife. It is a tiny bit shorter. The Conspirator ends here, while the Cybertrix ends just a little bit shorter than that. It's hard to see on an angle, but you can kind of tell. That's a dog. The handle is honestly almost 1-for-1 with the Conspirator, so that's what you're looking at there. It is a pretty slim knife overall. You're not looking at tall, but when it folds up, of course, then it suddenly gets tall. So let's see, is it as tall as the Conspirator? No, it is not. Even then, even with this big hump of a blade, you're still looking at a bit sort of not quite as tall. A flipper tab sticking out, just a little bit of blade sticking out. It's not that tall. Thickness is also pretty comparable to the Conspirator. It might actually be a tiny bit thinner. Since we're talking about that, we might as well do it. Check right now with the calipers. Come on now. Don't. Yeah, it's a little bit thinner than the Conspirator, 498 thousandths. So about half an inch, almost on the dot. Blade stock thickness is going to be a pain in the butt because the whole thing tapers. So I'm assuming that it's at its thickest point that at least I can access. The tang might be a little bit thicker, but the thickest point I can access is up here at 150 thousandths. So it's not actually that thin, even though a lot of the blade is down here at like 100 thousandths to all the way down here where it's 50 thousandths of an inch. Yeah. Or 500. Yeah. It's quite thin down there. The whole thing tapers. So, surprisingly thin. Now, I don't know how that's going to reflect in the cutting edge. I am actually curious to see this myself. Back here, we don't have a very big bevel, so I would imagine it's probably like 25 degrees per side, which is kind of a bummer, but as I like, usually 15 to 20, somewhere in varying in that range depending on the knife. 16 thousandths there. Up here, it's really hard to do. I gotta admit, I'm having some trouble here. 13. So it does taper a little bit, cutting edge wise. It's a little thicker here, a little thinner here, and you can kind of feel it. Here's a transition line. It is both an angle transition line because the angle changes, but it also seems to be a little bit thicker back in here than it does here, and you can sort of feel that it get thinner. So 16-ish back here and 13-ish probably up here. Pretty good. I will do one more check for grip, and that is the comparison to the AA batteries. You have more than 2 AA batteries of length in handle. Just a little bit more, but more. Yeah, this thing, you can sort of go where you want on it. It's neutral. Is what it is there. Weight. Now, I don't think there is milling in there. You can sort of see it. Can I get you? There you go. There's some of the milling. You can kind of see it sticking through, kind of. Not well. It's deep. This side, the milling is filled up by the lock bar, which has the Forever Steel name and the designer name in there. I'm not sure if they still have these on the current ones that were made that are more under the Right Ketuo brand. 4.41 ounces. Not heavy. Like, for a full titanium, not bad. Not bad at all, actually. I thought it was going to be a tiny bit heavier than that. And hardware check is something I'm not going to do. I have had this knife apart. It's a little bit of a pain. Basically, what you do here is, as you can see, this is cut into it, so it works like a spring, kind of. You go underneath this back thing and pull it out and pop it up. And that allows the scales to move independently, and you can start getting at some of the stuff under there to take them all apart further. It's T8 pivot, and there's probably T6s if I recollect properly. Though, looking in it, they might actually just be T8s. I'd be surprised if there's not any T6s in there, but several of the pieces in there and the pivot are T8. I believe that is all for our specs. So let's get into the knife. You've got a very unique blade shape, couple different blade shapes as I mentioned, but this is one of them, and they all have kind of different cants. One goes straight or further and then cants up at the very end. This one cants back here. There's another one that's a bit different shapes. You could make the argument that none of them are perfectly practical, but they're all usable. They're not bad in any way. Like, I can still definitely get tip access, I can still definitely get slicing, I can still definitely push at the sticker point. I could push this here. There's nothing, no problems here. It's just basically a sheep's foot or Wharncliffe kind of esque design that has an angle in there somewhere. It's pretty much consistently what they all do. The finish on the blade is quite nice. It is a bit fingerprinty, and it's hard to describe. It's not a stone wash, but it's definitely not a satin either. I don't know if it's a blasting or something, but it's very reflective. Not even reflective. It's not reflective, it's just got a lot of sheen to it. It's quite nice. I don't know what to call it, but it's quite nice. There is some branding on this side. I don't know if they still have that, actually. You can see it there. The Cybertrix, this is the B-shaped blade, number 239. As I said, this is a pretty early one. It's not number 239, M390. Honestly, with the very modern sort of, like, futuristic styling on this thing, that does not look out of place. And I don't mind it. It's also pretty small, and it's only on one side. I actually don't mind the branding here because it fits with the aesthetic. And that's what a lot of this knife is about. It's about the aesthetic. You know what? I'll just see if I can't get a good reading for plate stock down here now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, looks like 150 thousandths at its thickest point. Okay. So it's decently thick, and it doesn't have a whole lot of room to drop down, yet it does get down to a thin edge because of that taper, which is a nice touch, honestly. You have the furthest to drop here, where you can stay thick, and then when the blade starts really tapering, you don't need as much room to drop when your blade stock is starting to come down pretty thin. Yeah. This is a thumb stud only knife, and this is kind of the only actual complaint I have about the knife. The thumb studs, they're not only are they in the cutting path, so you can't really use back here well, you have to sort of go on an angle. It's mostly from here up that you got out of the blade, but I personally think they're a little bit too long just for functionality, too. If they were cut, like, in half, they'd still have the same aesthetic. You could still make them look the same, just be shorter. And when I'm reaching in to touch this thing, I kind of want to go here. But I'm stuck going down here because the thumb stud is actually a little bit longer. So, honestly, an overall shorter thumb stud would probably benefit this knife. Do they work? Yes, they work just fine. For the reverse flick, you can get your finger behind it. No problem whatsoever. I'm not complaining about it in that sense because, again, aesthetic is kind of what this thing is all about. This is less a super practical knife and more an enthusiast knife, as a lot of Reich knives are. They just kind of do what they do. And I'm all here for it, personally. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that just a tiny bit shorter. I think it would be more comfortable, just as accessible, and would give you a little bit more access to the blade. Like, if you cut off that much of that, you're gaining a decent chunk of blade there. That's just me. Handles, we've already touched on the finish of them, and they're quite attractive. This hand, I assume it's hand satin, but this satin, polished satin on here is really nice looking. And then you've got the blasted flats all over and on the backspacer. It offers difference in feel. It offers just a really nice aesthetic. The clip could also be a bit shorter. It works fine. It's not bad. It's super low profile, so you don't really feel it in the hand in the sense of it's not in the way at all. You can feel it there because of how long it is, and as soon as you start feeling stuff in the main, as soon as stuff starts reaching into the main pad of your hand, you kind of start noticing it more. And because it's so long, in my opinion, that's, well, not even my opinion, that's just kind of how that works, right? your main pad's touching it, you're going to notice it more so, or the main pad of your index, under your index finger. I'm trying to say something, I don't know what it is. I feel it, it's not uncomfortable. It's super slim, it's super long, but it's super slim, super low profile. It's fine. And the flex on it's actually pretty good. If they took it thinner, they'd have to maybe do a little bit more reduction there to make it so it kept its flex, but it is what it is. I do think it could be a little bit taller. It's certainly not the most conducive to getting into slightly thicker pants, because it's pretty low there. Yeah. This is a liner lock, and they did not cut out anything on this frame or the scales, which again, aesthetics, but they did make the liner stick out just a little proud. And weirdly enough, that is enough to get it from the side. Almost completely. I mean, I'm going a little bit, but I'm not having to go like this. I can, but I can go from the side here, and this thing goes. Weirdly functional. Oh, sharpening choil and plunge grind. Plunge grind is just a straight drop right here. Right to this. I mean, it's as obvious and evident as it can get. It's almost at the edge. It's really close. But the stop pin is... I actually don't know what the stop pin is on this knife. I'm assuming there, because there's a little bit of marking right there. You can kind of see it. Let's see if we can... Yeah, you see how that is right there? I'm assuming that's the main area where it's... Yeah, the stop pin is, I think, actually right up in here. It's this little area that sticks lower. Can we get that on the camera? Yeah, it sticks a bit lower there. I think that's technically what's functioning as the stop? Maybe? Yeah. So actually it's stopping back here, so you could definitely cut in your own choil. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just hard to tell because when it's all constructed, you can't actually see in there. Probably won't be an issue though. I would suggest that if you're going to cut in a sharpening choil, try to do it in a a triangular shape, because as soon as you put a round thing on this very angular knife, it's going to start looking a little bit odd, but that's just what it is. I have not used or carried this to extreme extents, though I have actually carried and used it, and it's functioned just fine. The edge that came on it is actually quite aggressive, surprisingly so. It feels slick at first, but then it starts biting in just a little bit. It can get you catch off guard, is what I'm trying to say. Also, something that really is a boon with this knife is it's on washers. You could mistake that for bearings. You really could. And it came this way. It is so smooth. Pardon me. There's no play. We are, as far as I can tell, perfectly centered. I did take it apart. I did see what's in there. I think when I first got it, there actually was a tiny bit of play, and it was a little off-center. I took it apart, took a piece of plastic, like a little hook, or I forget what I used, but I imagine even just like, I might be able to get it with just like a little cleaning thing. Pop it out. I don't know if it's strong enough, but if it's not, you could probably use a harder plastic or something. Or even maybe the tip of a pencil? Yeah, that'd probably work. Or tweezers. I could probably get it with those too. I took it apart, checked out inside of it, cleaned it up because it was a little bit greasy and gritty in there, and it was a little off center. I made some minor adjustments, tightened it down, and put it back together, and it all centered up really easily, which thankfully it did, because then having to take it apart and go through the whole process again could have been annoying, but it's made well. There are definitely some negatives to be found here if you're looking for a practical, straight-up knife. But if you're looking for something with some flair, yeah, this is good. Yes, the ergos are a little bit wonky because, I mean, these are hard edges. It's angular. That's the point. But despite the angular nature of this, I felt knives that have definitely taken ergonomics into more consideration than this, or tried to, and the angles on those are still less comfortable. It's weirdly working out, all just coming together, and it works. So, overall, this is a really good knife, and they're $400. They're expensive. It's a premium knife, no doubt about that. But as anyone knows, Reich's pricing is actually really good. The amount of extra work and extra details that go into this for it to still only be $400, which is pretty comparable to other like high-end premium production knives that don't have all this stuff. Yeah, it's definitely in the ballpark of where it should be. In fact, it's arguably a little bit low, which is pretty nice to see. Reich does a lot of crazy stuff, and they put a surprisingly good price tag on most of it. So I'm actually going to say this is recommendable, especially but only if you're really into what it's offering. Also, I didn't bring it out, but it came in this solid steel case where it was screwed down. It actually has big giant screws that hold the case completely together. I don't know if they still come in that, because this was an early one, but just fun. It's just fun. So, yeah, that's it for the Cybertrix. Well, the review of the Cybertrix. We'll do a summary for a quick little look at it later, for those who don't necessarily want to watch the full review. But for now, the full review is done. Like, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.